Patrick. Michael Gove is with me now. Michael Gove, who won?
Rishi Sunak won 6-0.
Were you worried about the audience applauding the Labour's VAT policy on private schools?
No, because we've got a fantastic record on education. We're the party that's improved state schools. And as far as I could tell, Keir Starmer was talking about maths. Then he said he wanted to have 6,000 new teachers. There are 23,000 schools in this country. So Labour's policy appears to be the way to improve education is to give every school a quarter of a teacher. Nothing adds up under Labour other than tax increases, because the real message was that when pressed on the £2,000 tax increase that Labour would bring forward, Starmer didn't have any answers. He couldn't deny it. Indeed, when asked, show us the details, said, look, let's not get into the details. Of course he can't get into the details, because Labour have no plan other than to raid your wallet.
There's a pattern of behaviour that you got wrong as a government, Keir Starmer said, on rising NHS waiting list. He was laughed at by that, your leader, Rishi Sunak, and also on illegal migration going up. It's a record of failure for the Tory government, isn't it?
The reason that we have waiting lists in the position that we do is because of lockdown, because of COVID. Waiting lists would be even higher if Starmer had been Prime Minister, because he would have kept us in lockdown for longer. And on migration, Keir Starmer has been a consistent advocate of an open borders policy. And again, if you want that, if you want migration to be higher, then of course vote Labour. That is absolutely what you should be doing. But during the course of this debate, when he was asked about processing migrants in a third country, Keir Starmer indicated that he might be open to that. Then he realised he was endorsing our policy, and he retreated again. What a shambles.
This may be the last time we talk to you as an MP or a minister in this government. Do you regret your leader calling an election? We're so far behind the polls. The MRP polls are disastrous, aren't they?
As far as I'm concerned, polls are for commentators. Debates are where leaders clash. And in this debate tonight, we saw that Rishi Sunak is a Prime Minister with a clear plan and bold ideas, and that Keir Starmer has no plan at all other than to increase your taxes.
Do you worry that no one's listening to your policies? They are bold policies, Labour offering change but no change, but no one's listening.
Tonight was a pivotal moment. Tonight was the moment when Keir Starmer fell over and smashed the Ming vase he's been carrying so delicately. It's in shards on the polished floor, and you can tell from the despondent expressions of Labour politicians like Wes Streeting and John Ashworth that they know their leader is a dud.
Michael Gove, final question. Will you miss this? You love all this spinning stuff, don't you? You love being a politician.
Well, I love it when I can see a great performer like Rishi Sunak, who is a great Prime Minister on top of his game. I'm a Conservative, and when you have a great Conservative leader like Rishi, well, it does the heart good.
Michael Gove, thank you for talking to GBNews tonight. Thank you. So Michael Gove there with his view on how the PM did in the debate. Patrick.
Thank you very much. We will be going back to Christopher Hope, who's in what's called the spin room, which is behind the scenes there at that debate. If you are just joining us again, I will remind you, this is a very different Patrick Christie's tonight. I sat and watched this debate with a wonderful studio audience who are now actually giving some of their verdicts. And I am just going to go to this lovely lady on the front row here, and I would just like you to just give your overall take. You've heard Michael Gove there call Keir Starmer a dud. I mean, you watched the debate. What do you think about it?
I'm afraid I agree with him. I think Rishi Sunak, although I'm not going to vote for him now, he had a lot of facts. He came through with many, many facts. As soon as you went over to Keir Starmer, he gives a quick opinion, but he has nothing to back up this opinion. And not in the debate this evening, but whenever he's asked, where are you going to get this money from for XYZ, it's always from the non-dom, reversing the non-dom. That non-dom thing is paying for so much. I am concerned. And the other thing that struck me this evening is I think Keir Starmer is a weak man, and in all honesty, I don't think he is in charge of the Labour Party. I think Angela Rayner is. And I think if he wins, I don't think he'll be Prime Minister for long. Oh. And I think he showed his weakness this evening. He fluffed a lot, he was stammering, he got nervous, he was blushing. He's not the right man.
All right, well, I think thank you very much for that. It was a really, really good comments there. Matthew, I think I'll probably better let you come back to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really interesting in what you say. I think Keir does need to be more determined in his next performance, and we saw Jonathan Ashworth, my old flatmate actually, who gave a very determined performance there. And I think that for the next one, which will be absolutely crucial, Keir needs to fight back, because one-on-one he's a very passionate individual and a very confident individual. He's got a great track record as Britain's chief prosecutor, but that needs to come out. I think he does need to be more confident in the performance, certainly.
OK, now I'm going to play a little clip for you, and it's to do with the ECHR. This has been a very, very clear battleground, the ECHR, OK? So, you know, is Rishi Sunak actually going to pull out of it? Do we need to pull out of it? Keir Starmer, well, he's been pretty consistent that he's not going to do it. Let's just hear what was said tonight about the ECHR.
I'm forced to choose between securing our borders and our country's security or a foreign court. I'm going to choose our country's security every single time.
If I'm Prime Minister, we will not pull out of international agreements and international law, which is respected the world over.
Right, OK, so clear distinction on the ECHR there. Now, if you were watching, and thank you very much if you were, by the way, at 9 o'clock, you will have heard a gentleman who was in the back room watching this debate with me say that what he really wanted to hear was some strong stuff from Rishi Sunak on the ECHR. He now has the microphone in his hand. Did you like what you heard?
Good evening. Yes, I liked a bit of what I heard. I felt it was more of an ultimatum or sort of threat to leave the ECHR. He said he'd actually prioritise the UK security first ahead of an international court, which isn't quite the same thing. I mean, it's good. I don't think it'll shoot the reform fox, one of the foxes, but I think it's a good start. Starmer, on the other hand, just kind of waffled about globalist stuff, which I didn't like very much. OK. Now, you, former Conservative Special Advisor, would you have advised Rishi Sunak to have been stronger on the ECHR?
I think it's very hard to be stronger on the ECHR without committing yourself to something that is really huge in advance of a manifesto launch, which is, you know, coming in, I think, the next 4 days or so. But a manifesto that's signed off by everybody could include something like that. I don't think it will, but it could, conceivably. Doing that on your own in a one-on-one legal debate is probably not the right place to do that. So I think he's probably hedged as much as he can. I also think the Rwanda legislation was pretty bad. Earlier this evening, I had a drink with my old boss, David Jones, who spoke in the Rwanda debate and raised with James Cleverly, the Home Secretary, that Section 41B of the bill was basically going to mean that we couldn't ever get this past ECHR. It's entirely possible that better legislation, more robust legislation, would be able to pass that threshold without us needing to leave anyway. OK, one of the key things there, I will come to you shortly on this, Patrick, I'm very sorry, but I've got a guest I want to bring in, but one of the key things at this debate was Sunak relentlessly kind of shouting, really, at Keir Starmer. What are you going to do with people who come here illegally? What are you going to do with them? And there wasn't much forthcoming. Just before I go to Patrick, I would just like to bring in the former leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Vince Cable. I believe he was down the line for us. Sir Vince, thank you very, very much. Well, I mean, I will ask, who do you think won that debate?
Well, I think probably Julie Etchingham won the debate. I mean, she was cool and balanced, and there was too much shouting. I don't think professional politicians appreciate how much is a turn-off when people are talking across each other. I thought that was quite damaging on both parts. And Sunak was particularly bad at it, but it wasn't a very elevated debate. As far as the two of them were concerned, I would say, score draw. OK, one of the other big features of this general election campaign so far, Sir Vince, has been Ed Davey falling off things around the country, or cycling downhill and going down water slides and all of that. I do put it to you that we have a problem with our voting system, Sir Vince, where the Reform Party can be on around 12% and currently be scheduled to win no seats. It remains to be seen what the Nigel Farage effect has to that. But the Lib Dems can be hovering at 10% and win 39 seats. There's something wrong, isn't there? Well, there's something wrong with the voting system. It's a particularly bad example. I mean, we had, 22% in 2010, and we finished up with just over 50 seats. I mean, the whole system of first past the post is massively disadvantageous for smaller and particularly insurgent party. At the moment, it's bad for the Reform Party and the Greens. We also suffer from it. So, we have a common interest in arguing that we need a fairer, more representative voting system.
Do you think Ed Davey is ready to potentially be, and I can't believe I'm saying this, the leader of the opposition?
I think that might well happen. I mean, it's the Conservative craters in the way it's doing. I mean, he's a very serious guy. I mean, I was in the cabinet for 5 years. He was one of my colleagues. He was the energy secretary, did some extremely good technical work on reviving nuclear power, on developing green technologies. And he's a very serious
post office
man. And the fact that you have to resort to these gimmicks in a general election campaign, it is the way of drawing attention to serious issues. I mean, he fell off that canoe in Lake Windermere to illustrate a point about pollution, and he got the message across much better than writing 1,000-word articles in a newspaper. He gets the message across with a visual metaphor.
Part of me did wonder if he would have got the message across slightly better if he had suddenly become ill from the quality of the water, actually. But maybe the message he got across is the fact that Windermere is fine to swim in. But I do take the point that he was trying to make. Look, when you saw Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak going at it there, the actual results are from YouGov: Rishi Sunak 51%, Keir Starmer 49%. As well. I mean, where do you think Ed Davey really fits into all this? I mean, at some point he's going to have to dry himself off and tell us a policy, isn't he?
Well, if we had equitable debates of the kind that we had in 2010, I think you'd find the Liberal Democrats would come across much stronger, and he would come across as a very serious, thoughtful individual. But the 51-49 struck me as being, 50-50 would be my verdict, but it's not very different. No, it was a score draw. Neither of them came across, I think, as particularly attractive or encouraging. The thing that depressed me particularly, and this is not a party point, is the treatment of taxation. I mean, we have relatively high levels of taxation historically, but not by comparison with other countries. Most objective analysts believe whoever is the next government, Tory, Labour, Lib Dem, anybody else, there is going to be a very substantial increase in taxation. Yeah. And there's no other way that the public finances can be sustained. And the fact that, the two leading spokesmen are assuming that this is not going to happen, Sunak's going on about the £2,000 tax burden, entirely fictitious. I mean, I don't know where that number comes from. It's just misleading the public, because we are heading a very difficult period where the public finances are under enormous pressure. And frankly, I think we're expecting the parties to get more honest with us about the fact that more taxation is going to come, whoever's in government.
OK, look, Sir Vince, thank you very, very much. That's Sir Vince Cable there, the former leader of the Liberal Democrats.